Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Feng Shui Talks. This morning, I'm going to be joined with Sanctuary Feng Shui, Staci Scott of Sanctuary Feng Shui, to talk all about opening up our spirits through spiritual awakenings through our home space. This is going to be a very juicy topic. So if you're here joining us live, please say hello. Please ask any questions. Let us know what's going on in your home, in your space. Certainly after this large full moon energy. Here we go. I got Stacy jumping on. Lots of energy released, and we've been creating this beautiful space in our mind, body, and spirit to welcome in fresh, new energy and new opportunities, new potentials. So if you're joining us, say hi. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good morning, everyone. What is it, Tuesday? Happy Tuesday.
Tuesday morning. Yeah. And for those that are watching the replay, catching us live, I'm located in Canada, in New Brunswick, Canada, so the East Coast, over on the Atlantic Ocean side. And Stacy is in Washington, D.C.,
Yeah.
so just south of probably where I'm sitting. So this is fantastic. Would you want to give a little brief introduction as to who you are, how you approach feng shui, and I don't know, I gave a little bit of a little sneak peek as to what our conversation is going to be about today, but
Mhm.
if you'd love to share a little bit about yourself, love to hear it.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me too. So yes, I'm Staci Scott. My business is Sanctuary Feng Shui, and I come at Feng Shui from a rather different perspective. For 10 years, I was an occupational therapist. And while working with a lot of my clients, I started to see that what I was going in, my traditional toolbox, really wasn't working so well for them. So that's kind of my mundane way of how I kind of shifted into feng shui and out of this more healthcare based practice. But if I'm being completely honest, feng shui for me stimulated a spiritual awakening. I was already going through a bit of an awakening, starting to get into Western astrology and crystals and tarot. And all of that was wildly helpful to really show me my limiting beliefs, help me do my soul work so that I could evolve into a more complete, compassionate, and just generally more happy person.
Yeah.
But when I found feng shui, it kind of came in like a divine breadcrumb. I kind of heard in my brain one day, you should look at feng shui. I had never heard I didn't know what it was at all, never really heard of it, because it's really not part of kind of that more spiritual conversation that a lot of folks are having. But as I dove into it, woo, it was amazing. It revealed to me so many limiting beliefs just by looking at my home. I progressed into that more evolved person that I wanted to become, that more complete, compassionate, whole person. Because our homes are mirrors for our lives. And as a feng shui practitioner, Jess, you know that we are so energetically connected to our spaces that we can literally use our homes as a mirror to reflect back to us what is going on in our life at any given moment.
Absolutely.
So, based on the decor, the color, the architecture, and the furniture that we've chosen to put into our homes can tell us a lot about not only who we believe ourselves to be, but also who we wish to become, or not to send a shiver down anybody's spine, but who maybe we're still living as, like a former, less evolved version of ourselves. So by connecting to my home in this way, I was really able to not only see what needed to change within me, but feng shui also gave me the pathway to then shift the energy. So it's total double whammy of a spiritual practice. And Jess, I'll throw it back over to you. I
Yeah.
see you furiously
Like,
nodding.
yeah. I mean, I feel like you and I have so much in common. I absolutely adore the perspective that you share with feng shui. I align very much with the language that you use, and that is really what drew me into sanctuary feng shui as well. Now, I began as an interior designer. Well, even before that, I was working in human resources in more of like a corporate sense, but then chose to step out of that world because it was just draining of my own soul, my energy, my mental health, my physical health, everything sort of plummeted very quickly. And so I knew that was not the place for me. I went into interior design when I started to open up to this realm of possibilities and stepped into interior design, and similarly with yourself realized that approach, it serves purposes and it was really wonderful. However, it was not the way that I wish to show up in this world and help others. So Feng Shui came to me when I was practicing Qigong, and for sure opening up my energy centers and realizing, hey, there's a lot of power behind our environment, and there's so much from a practical sense that we can do to shift that energy so we feel that in our mind, body, and spirit, really helping us evolve and step into our power, wake up, start to see things from and I say elevated, and I don't say that to be like belittling by any means, but seeing it more from like an observer perspective and creating those shifts with intention, consciously too, because unconsciously we're creating shifts in our environment all the time. We're like walking energy shifters. But when we bring that consciousness to that practice, we're then able to see a major impact in our health, mind, body, and spirit. And that's something that I take very seriously because it impacts my family, it impacts my community, it impacts those here on Instagram and on other social media channels. It's really just about doing that due diligence, I feel like, for my own self, to honor our space and honor that calling as well, like at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up such a nice point about that. Yes, this is a personalized practice, but it shifts out, right? When you
Yeah.
start to feel really good because you feel like you're on your path of who you're becoming, just the world opens up to you, you're just a more happy and pleasant person. That shifts out. People start to see your light. You get to shine so much brighter. So, it's literally on my website. Like, if you feel like you are stifling your shine, Feng Shui is the practice for you, because when you shine, when you show up, that shifts out to the wider world. And I don't think I need to say that. I think we could all use a little bit of that
Absolutely.
in 2020, 2021, all the way through the future. So you also bring up a really good point too, that we are walking energy shifters, and that there is this mindfulness aspect of feng shui that I think gets overlooked. One of the very first things that my feng shui mentor said to me when she was doing my feng shui, because you really shouldn't do your own feng shui because somebody else can always see what you are missing because of that mindfulness aspect. But when she was looking at my home, she looked at me and said, "How's your anxiety level?" And I was like, "That's a really weird question. Okay, it's through the roof. I'm not so good right now. I was really going through a lot, emotionally and personally." And she's like, "I can tell." And I'm like, that just sent shivers down my spine. I'm like, how in the world can you tell that I am going through a rough time right now? And she said, "You've got too much metal in your home." And for anybody who's new to feng shui, too much metal is a little too much white, gray, those brassy gold and silver tones. They're beautiful, but I went overboard with them. And it was actually, when you have a little too much metal in your life, it can make you a little bit sharp, can make you feel like you're wrapped around the axle a bit. And that just opened my eyes and blew my mind to what feng shui could do for me, for folks that I wanted to turn around and help. And that was really the start of that second awakening, where I was like, oh my God, I made all these choices to bring these colors into my home. And I have to own up to that. I have to say, okay, well, I made these choices, but now I get to choose again. And I get to choose better because I have more knowledge. I'm more aligned with who I am and where I'm going. And that became really just the foundation to this very spiritual and soulful way I approach feng shui. So,
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Martina, for joining us as well.
Hi, Martina.
I I love that you mentioned that as well because 2 months ago, yeah, 2 months ago, we had, well, upstairs, the majority of our walls were all like a light gray color, really off white. And the decision came to either continue because we wanted to freshen up the paint and the energy in this space. And certainly painting the walls is an excellent way to do so. We were to make a decision. Do we go with white, which is really trendy in the interior design world right now? Or do we choose to go with more of a soft peach color, which brings in more of the earth element into our space? And we sat with it and we kind of not meditated on it necessarily, but just gave it that space to kind of come through. And we chose to do the peach color, which is behind me here as well. And it just provided this wonderful backdrop to
Hmm.
really step into that space and the energy. Just it feels like a warm hug in this
Hmm.
space, and it's something that is very supportive to our energy in our home, in our family moving forward, and having that that energy with us too. It's very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And
there have been many shifts, though, like along this journey, and it really, and for those that are listening in as well, our home is going to be evolving with us. So, at any given point, even if it was 2 months ago and you painted the walls peach, for example, you can always make a new decision at any point in time, especially if you're getting that kind of intuitive pull to make a shift in your environment. Listen to that, right?
Mhm.
I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, I call those energetic nudges from space. We go nose blind. Remember those old commercials, like I think they were for trash bags. You walk into your space and you don't smell it, but everybody else does. We go nose blind, so to speak, to our homes. We develop these energetic blinders where
Yeah,
we walk in and we don't notice the things that are broken or the way the color makes us feel, or that piece of furniture that you really kind of didn't want, but you feel like you have no money to replace. All of this might not live on your conscious mind, but it lives in your subconscious mind, and it is acting on you all day long. And I don't
yeah.
say that to send shivers down anybody's spine. I
Mm-hmm.
say that to open up deeper conversations with yourself. So I always tell people to start to remove those energetic blinders to cultivate a mindfulness with your home. Go step outside, shut the door, open it up again, and pretend like you're seeing the space again for the first time. Really try to see
Mm-hmm.
it. How do you feel when you first walk in the door? What are you seeing? Energetically, what memory or emotion is coming up for you? And that will start to remove those energetic blinders and give you an idea of your overall space vibe. And then you get to decide whether or not, yeah, hey, that's perfect for me. I love it here. This is like my total sanctuary. Or, wow, there's something going wrong here. I'm not sure what. But that then leads you to, maybe I should have my home feng shuied.
Right. I
So,
love
mm-hmm,
that. And I think too, like we can intentionally avoid areas in our home when they're not aligned, right?
mm-hmm,
And I've seen this and I've spoken to this before about how, like driving down the road, if you're used to different potholes and you just subconsciously avoid the potholes, it's similar in in respect to our home space as well. If there's a room that you just don't use, like a spare bedroom that's reserved for a guest and there hasn't been a guest for a year, I mean, we can often like put that blinder up to walk and kind of go the other way. I would say that is exactly the space where you'd want to even begin to dive into and understanding, why am I avoiding this?
mm-hmm,
I am fascinated whenever I receive like a trigger or something just kind of like kind of
mm-hmm.
feels off in this space. Here I am clicking. Um, feeling off in this space, I think that is a really beautiful indicator that there's energy ready to shift in that space and in that area of your life as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
using the Boggle map and looking at the different energy centers in your home and how it's correlated into your life is just going to really illuminate some areas where you can really step into in those opportunities as well.
Yeah, you said that so beautifully. And I know, and I'm sure in your practice you see this too, but I see this
Mhm.
over and over again with clients. I also see this with myself. I still see this, y'all. And I do this for a living now. You know, the work is never ending. I know Jess and I don't sit here being like, well, we have it all figured out. I'm constantly still doing things. So I have a really funny story that showcases that point quite well. There was a crack in my bathroom in the tile that I noticed maybe about a year ago, and I put it off. I put it off. I didn't have the, I told myself I didn't have the money to fix it. It was in the spare bathroom, so it was out of sight, out of mind. I didn't need to deal with it. Just shut the door. It's gone. No, that was impacting me because that crack was actually a limiting belief because that crack lived in my career area. So once I energy mapped my space or bogwad my space, I saw that that crack was in my career location. That was a limiting belief that this business, because it was right around the time that I was starting to kind of put my feelers out of, oh my gosh, can I start a business? That crack and me avoiding that crack rather was really my limiting belief in action, that I didn't believe I was worthy of starting this business. I didn't believe I could do it. So when I got that crack fixed, that really shifted the energy. And that's what started bringing in clients and confidence and like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this thing. So you guys, this happens in our lives too. We see it in clients' lives, but home is not static. If you are an evolving being, your home is evolving with you at all times. So never feel like once you hang something up, it's got to stay up for forever. I know we get a little fearful of putting holes in walls and things like that because that's us still kind of living in our perfection. We expect home to be perfect.
Right.
Right? Like it should be just something straight out of a magazine. We're not perfect. I got dishes in the sink right now. I've got laundry that needs to get thrown in. It's not about perfection. It's about me noticing, okay, have I done those dishes
Yeah.
in 3 weeks? Maybe I should go do them. There's
Right.
something I'm avoiding there. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
please.
think it's this beautiful opportunity to come back to the present moment as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, like mentioning dishes, if they were, I mean, I know not necessarily in your case, but in anyone's case, if maybe not the dishes, but maybe it's laundry sitting for like weeks on end, is a very common thing, especially in family households. It happens to us. We have 3 young children. We've got a lot of clothes that we are washing, and if it sits on, our sofa for 1 to 2 weeks, it's an indicator for myself to check right in and think, okay, why am I, where are my thoughts? Where's my energy? And calling that back into our home space to be in the present moment and to do the things that really help and support our family. Because I can tell you, the laundry sitting on the sofa for a couple weeks, the kids then don't have it in their rooms. They come downstairs and they look for their clothes. I mean, that's presenting all sorts of energy leaks. So there's so much symbolism in our space as it relates to our life. And it's really those strong indicators of where we want to place our attention or where we can, or those opportunities to really expand into those spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, and something that just caught my eye actually last evening, and now it's like on my to-do list. And this is the thing too, when you walk into a space and you start to see things from a new perspective, which happens as we evolve and expand in our own awareness. Make a list of all the things you're noticing and set the list aside, because it will happen. But I find, especially for myself, where I'm in this world and I'm in my home so much too. And I think this, especially with COVID days, we're in our home so frequently. It can be easy to kind of create this real long list of things that need to be done right away. And then everything else kind of gets put on hold, where that may present or create a little bit of an imbalance. But I think having the list gets it out of your mind onto paper. You can always come back to the list, but it creates that space in your mental capacity as well to then maybe take action on these list items as well.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I noticed, like I said, yesterday evening, and it keeps now poking at me. I got to write it on a list, but um, is in my fame and reputation area. Now, I'm becoming much more visible in all social media channels. I'm really stepping into that space myself from a professional and personal standpoint as well. We have a bathroom in our fame and reputation. We have a drain spout. Like we need we're going to be renovating this space, but right now what I notice is there's like this pipe that comes out of the sink, and it's like the off. I'm not 100% sure on the purpose of it, but I think it's like a drainage pipe or whatnot. But I look at the ground, and there's like calcium built up around the ground, and I'm thinking, there's some leak going on there. So
Mm-hmm.
just coming in with that fresh perspective, I'm going to be writing it down. I know there are things right away that come to mind of ways that I can remedy it quickly and kind of put that band-aid on so that when we do renovate this space and come back to it. But it's really interesting. And I think that it's, again, perfect opportunities to make these energetic shifts in our space that then translates into our life as well. And having that bit of, like, I feel like working on our home space is a way that we can work with the energy without being forceful. It's like a very subtle way of creating that vibration in our life and
Yeah.
welcoming it in as well.
Yeah. It's funny. I that's like the perfect segue back into having a spiritual awakening, viewing your soul through space, using your home as this tool for transformation, because you just touched on it. It is a gentle way of facing your soul work. We talk a lot about
Mm-hmm.
in the spiritual community, at least, about shadow work and soul work. And it has this very negative connotation, right? It's supposed that it's this challenging thing. But to me, Feng Shui is this really gentle way of presenting you the things you need to work on. Because once you see it, you kind of can't unsee it, right? You can sweep an emotion back under the rug. You can sweep a memory back into your subconscious, only for so long, of course, but you can do those things. Whereas when it's presented to you in your home and you're like, oh, well, I can't unsee it now. So it is this gentle way of then shifting the energy of like, okay, well, I have to hang up some artwork. I need a new rug. I'm going to go get the plumber in to have that leak fixed. And then it almost becomes, Feng Shui almost then feels like magic. Because once you've made that shift, because it's easy, you haven't really done anything to your body, so to speak, but then that energy of your home reflects right back on you. And then you start to feel this magical alignment and shift into, what it is you're evolving to be. We talk so much about manifesting that to me, Feng Shui is the ultimate manifester, because not only is it showing you what you need to do, it's then giving you the tools to then shift that energy. It is a double whammy of a spiritual practice. And I don't know of any other spiritual practices that are double whammies like that, which is, I think, why Feng Shui is like so shrouded in this mystery. But it's amazingly cool. And I have tried everything, trust me. So
Same here. Same here. I've got like this long list of different modalities and practices that I've, experienced and kind of dip my toes in to feel it out, right?
mm-hmm.
And I feel like Feng Shui has this really beautiful way at, um, oh gosh, describing the energy. So using the five elements, like we were mentioning before, using the metal, earth element, then we've also got fire, water, and wood energy as well in there, is this beautiful way of describing how a space feels energetically to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then how we interact with each of those elements and how the elements interact with each other. I mean, it's just this real beautiful way of looking at a space with that fresh lens.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you, because I definitely, when this started to dawn on me that Feng Shui could be used in this way, I felt very out of the box, and that feels very exposing, right? It's like, am I making all of this up? But I think we both agree that we're not. We feel these things in our own bodies.
Yeah.
And, the more I dive into this, so much of kind of what I learned as a child, too, the
Mm-hmm.
behaviors that I had in the home, I find that I even employ some of those behaviors here in my adult space.
Yeah.
So if that's not inner child healing work, I don't know what is. Because being able to look at my relationship that I had to my home as a child, which was not a very good relationship,
Mm-hmm.
home felt very adversarial. It was not a good place to grow up. And now being an adult and getting to choose the home and the energy and the vibe that I want in my space, and then getting to help others choose the home that they want to live in, the sanctuary that they want, regardless of the home that they grew up in, to me is my ultimate mission. Because it doesn't matter what you grew up in, you can create the life and home that you want for yourself, no matter what that looks like. So, I'm still kind of untooling some of those childhood behaviors that then have entered even into my adult space.
Absolutely. Well, it is a journey, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we're constantly evolving. And I feel like when those little nudges come up or those opportunities to make those shifts, it's so beautiful. And that's why I was mentioning earlier about, triggers or, if something feels off, like it is such a beautiful gift and a blessing to then have that expanded awareness of it coming into your life to make those shifts. Knowing also that there are individuals you can go to for help and for support, because as you were mentioning earlier as well, like it's a lot easier when you're working with someone that's an expert in this area, like yourself and I, because we're coming in with it from like a very objective perspective. So working in your own home space for sure it can be overwhelming at times, no doubt. Writing a list, there's certain workshops that you can attend, but even having that one-on-one experience with a trained feng shui practitioner is going to provide you with that accessibility to make those shifts with that support with someone who's I want to say gifted in that area, but has done the work themselves too. Because I too
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a home that was extremely adversarial, and my bedroom was my sanctuary, 100%. And with our now being a mother myself, we are creating a home that is very different from what it was like when I was growing up. We were moving every 2 years. I mean, it was really challenging to stay grounded and planted and allow the roots of ourself or my soul to really go down deep and feel that support to really shine and branch out like the trees. So it's really powerful, but having that stability in our space, it goes a long way. And when we have that stability, when we have that support from our home environment, it impacts our children. And we were mentioning this earlier too. It impacts our children, our clients, our community, our family, our extended family. But not only that, those lessons and that energy and that shift that you've created then also impacts future generations. So we're talking like lineage healing. We're talking about like
Mm-hmm.
ancestral healing as well at the same time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this is really where I've been sitting in the ancestral healing part for a good couple months now too. No doubt, the peach balls I was mentioning before has a little bit of support during this time for myself and my family's time. But it's like this real beautiful practice that even incorporates different practices as well. Like saying that, I mean, I've got a smoky quartz right here next to me. So you've got crystal healing, placing them with intention in your home. I've got plants around me. I'm a big gardener as well. And so cultivating that garden within your home and within your own energy and your own space as well.
Mm-hmm.
Super important. I'm looking around what else I've got. Essential oils. What else do I have? Really big on essential oils and bringing again more of that natural element into your life. Really, really big. And I think that it's something that's so necessary these days where we're, living in cities or, more and more people are moving to the cities for the opportunities, which is fantastic. but then bringing back in that natural element is going to really help support the self as you're engaging in these very man-made structures and buildings. So yeah, it's really interesting, and I love the pathos you have behind yourself
I
too.
do. I just got myself some vertical energy here.
Wonderful.
Because I am one of those people who lives in a more city-esque environment. I'm in a condo, so I try to do a lot in terms of plants and things like that. It's so funny to me too, as you were speaking. I talk to so many folks. And the first thing when somebody says when I suggest plants to them, they're like, "Oh, but my thumb is brown. I don't have a
Yeah.
green thumb." And I like to gently push back on that and say, do you not have a green thumb, or do you not believe you have a green thumb? You have to believe you can care for these plants, because caring for these plants is caring for yourself. Having respect for them is respect for you. And I'm not saying that to, put out in the world that you don't have respect for yourself, for anybody listening. I say that because flip that script in your mind from I don't have a green thumb. I'm terrible with plants, to I'm learning. I can keep
Mhm.
plants alive. I'm going to start small. Recently I actually had a plant die off, like a mass plant die off in my home. And I took that as an opportunity to level up.
Yeah.
So I looked to see where those plants that were dying, um, I saw where in my energy map or my bog where those lived, and they lived in wealth and abundance. They lived in passion, fame, and reputation, and they lived in self-love. So the entire top level of the energy map, which is arguably the most powerful. There's a lot of energy there. So I took that as like an okay, universe, you're telling me something. Let's cut my losses. Unfortunately, none of the plants were really savable. I was able to save one or two. But that was really an opportunity to step back and open up that deeper conversation with myself of, okay, what is going on in my life? Because the bog already told me what areas of my life are being impacted. So open up those deeper conversations, flush out any further limiting beliefs, and then invite in some additional plant life when you feel ready to
Right.
step into that leveling up. So for anybody who's having plants die off, it's not always you or your thumb, or you're not caring for them enough. You can always use that as a way to open up a deeper conversation with yourself, because these plant babies are pretty dang smart.
Oh, absolutely. That's right. And even
Mm-hmm.
thinking of, yeah, caring for your plants in your home, thinking of, yeah, when you show the plants your love and you're caring for them, at the same time, you're showing that for yourself. It is a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful self-care practice in our home. And it's something that you can have an app for it. I mean, there's definitely some suggestions on that I've heard in the past about, watering on full moon, the new moon, getting into a routine, really important routine for that self-care. And I would say it's the same for home care, right? When we care for our home, when we clean our home, you're taking care of yourself and you're taking care of your own energy as well, and there's certain ways that we can then even enhance that self-care, adding the essential oils. I'm thinking of blasting music while we're
Mm-hmm.
cleaning, or, watering our garden inside. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many different practices and rituals and routines that we can adopt that really helps to raise the vibration and bring that life force into our space so that we then feel it and then we can emit it as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's wonderful. With dying plants, I used to be so hard on myself,
Yeah.
and for years I was avoiding even bringing plants in our home. My husband would come home with plants because he's a very big gardener. No doubt this is why he and I have matched up. But he would bring in new plants. I'm like, what are you doing? It's too much. It's too much. And through the years, I basically learned how to care for these plants and myself, and really embracing that. And they are, yeah, plants are highly intelligent. There's so much that we can learn by studying plants, and when I say study, I'm thinking observing plants. So, if you are starting to want to bring more greenery into your space, do it. Do it. Start with one, maybe two plants that are, really they have that hardiness. So like a pothos, like the one right behind Stacy right now, wonderful because they're really tolerant to infrequent waterings, or if it doesn't have the lighting, I mean, it's gonna be more forgiving. But observing the plants and also observing how they're responding to the environment, strong indicators as to kind of what's needing to be shifted in the space as well. I mean, our home is constantly communicating to us things that are working really, really well and things that are just wanting to be shifted. And
Mm-hmm.
approaching that with a compassionate lens as well, and understanding that it's not bad, it's not negative, but actually it's this really wonderful opportunity, like you said, to level up. So maybe it's just finding a little bit more information on the particular plant or the particular location, and then making other shifts that may be a little easier. And another suggestion too, for those that are looking to bring more greenery in, that aren't maybe ready to purchase a plant, but bringing plants in through imagery, really, really powerful way to kind of start to step into that vibe and that energy as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, when you're ready, like bringing in the plants one at a time. Plants are very yang energy and they do require maintenance. So always selecting plants that are going to fit in with your lifestyle, and rather than you changing your lifestyle to fit in with the plants. This is like one of my favorite parenting advice that I've ever received from a cousin of mine. And she said, when you have children, you do not change your lifestyle. The children come into your life and they live with you. And I'm like, that is, I live my life by that now. Because I mean, our lifestyle and is beautiful. It's really, really great, and it's also growing and evolving. But when we bring in plants, when we bring in children into this world, we bring in, a business into this world. However we choose to express our creativity, uh, is it's fitting into your life and
Mm-hmm.
helping to open it up even further and
Yeah.
expand. Yeah.
I think you touched on something really nice there that I know I talk about a lot too, that nothing to me in feng shui, nothing is bad. I know Jess certainly and myself, we do not do fear-based feng shui. Nothing is bad. Everything is an opportunity to take a step back, open up that deeper conversation with yourself, and be able to then shift those fears, limiting beliefs, and worries. We were just talking about plants, and I know there's definitely, if you Google bad feng shui plants, you'll get lots of lists. That
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean, the one that gets kind of, a bad rep is cactuses.
Cactus.
The cactus gets a terrible reputation. And yes, it does have sharp and pointy energy, but you get to decide where and if at all you want that in your home. And my grandmother had a cactus collection. And I loved that cactus collection because to me, it represents her. So it's one of those things where nothing is truly ever bad. It's just an opportunity to have that conversation with yourself. And if you decide that it's time to level up the energy in your home and life, then you have support obviously in the two of us, but then you have made your decision and it's beautiful, and go forth with that.
Absolutely. Cactus.
Mm-hmm.
We do have some cactus in our home.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, since learning about the energy behind a cactus and the sharp points, you can
Mm-hmm.
then use that to your advantage as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like, and there's so many symbolisms and metaphors for that. But, you know, wanting to cut energy, that is not necessarily a negative thing. If you're living in an
Mm-hmm.
area where you're not necessarily feeling safe, place a cactus at your front door or in even a front window. That is going to support the feeling, or even repel or protect your energy in your space. So there's definitely ways that you can work with each of the plants, the energy in your entire space, really.
Mm-hmm.
And having that work with you and serve you is going to be really, really wonderful.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like we could talk for days about plants too, which feels like a whole other conversation to have.
Absolutely. We ourselves are so much like plants. So it's like, it's just, again, it's further mirrored in the symbolism of our space and in our lives
Yeah.
as well.
And we're in a wood energy. We're in a wood energy time too. The five elements of feng shui also are linked to seasons. And right now, spring is wood energy. So that's why I think so many people feel a lot of energy and action and motivation to get things done because it aligns really nicely with the season as well. But I
Absolutely.
interrupted. You were going to say something?
No, oh, no, you filled that in beautifully. I was going to say, is there anything else you wish to share while we're in this space and doing this live before we wrap up?
I think we're good. Honestly, I've so enjoyed this conversation. I always love talking spiritual awakenings, really shifting energy, using, your home as a tool for transformation. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for anyone watching this is Staci Scott from Sanctuary Feng Shui. Please give her a follow. Give this video a like, share it out. If you are able to gain some value from this, we'd love to hear from you as well and how you're making out in your spiritual awakening and how your space is helping to serve you and support you during this journey. Such a beautiful time. Again, I kind of began the call or the live with mentioning a little bit about the full moon. We're releasing so much energy. I feel like this is a very powerful full moon. It was certainly for myself in Libra, and now that we're starting to get out of the full moon energy and shift into these new beginnings, new opportunities. You may be decluttering. There may be lots of things that you're removing from your mind, body, and spirit, but also more importantly in your space, or more related to our discussion, in your space. So paying attention to that, honoring that, and going with the flow. And that in itself is really feng shui. So
Mhm.
thank you so much, Stacy, for joining me here today. It was an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad that we've connected and continue this conversation as the days and our lives unfold, really.
Yeah,
So
this has been
thank
great. We talk the same language, so it's fabulous.
yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day
Thank you.
or
And thank you,
rest of the morning
everyone.
and day, and we'll be talking real soon. Awesome.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.